every one of you.
For helping our great nation
find its voice.
We're absolutely everywhere.
Across England, Scotland,
Wales and Northern Ireland.
On TV.
On radio.
and online.
We're proud to be
The People's Channel.
Britain's
news channel.
On the Mark Steyn Show, we cover the stories a lot of people are scared even to mention. The stuff that really matters with some of the world's biggest thinkers.
Now is his opportunity to kind of take the steering wheel of history.
Break away from the flop at 8 o'clock on GB News with the Mark Steyn Show.
Hello, I'm Esther McVeigh.
And I'm Philip Davis.
Whether you're watching or listening on TV, online or on radio, we handpick the latest stories, debates and expert opinions for your weekend. So whether that's politics, news or showbiz, we've got it covered.
Join us every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock on GB News.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh my goodness me.
And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know. The latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Friday Night Feast. And we don't want to ease you into the weekend, no. We want to crash into it like a couple of TV stars jumping a queue.
Taxi! Taxi! Yeah, can I have a taxi, please? Excuse me? What are you doing? I need a taxi! Excuse me! Sir!
There's lots more of that coming up, and we'll have all of our regular features as well. Tonight's Challenge Christys is an absolute cracker. Find out what happened when I was put through my paces by a genuine footballing legend. Dog of the Week is back as well, and tonight we'll try to find a forever home for gorgeous Georgia. Look at those eyes and tell me that you don't want her. There you go, OK? If you don't want her, then you're an evil person. Please, please rehome one of these dogs. I'll tell you about the lorry load of sex toys that caused chaos in the United States, and we'll speak to the man who has fathered, get this, more than 50 children, and he's not stopped yet. And there's news as well, of course, of the woman accused of drink driving who claimed that her dog was behind the wheel. That's all to come after the headlines, brought to you this evening by the wonderful Tamsin Roberts.
Patrick, thank you. Here's the latest from the GB newsroom. The Chancellor has unveiled the largest series of tax cuts in half a century as part of the government's mini-budget. Kwasi Kwarteng told the Commons he plans to abolish the 45% top rate of income tax for the highest earners. He also announced he's bringing forward the planned basic rate reduction from 20 to 19 pence from April next year. The major spending package also includes cuts to stamp duty and the scrapping of the planned increase in corporation tax. The Chancellor says today's a good day for the UK.
We were facing a situation where the tax burden was at a 70-year high, and that was completely unacceptable. The Prime Minister campaigned for the leadership on the basis that we were going to reduce taxes, and that's exactly what we've done. The path we were on was simply unsustainable. We couldn't simply raise taxes indefinitely and hope that we would get prosperity. That's why this morning I reduced the tax burden across the piece, and I'm very, very committed to that.
Well, Shadow Chancellor Rachel Reeves says the mini-budget is nothing new.
Can I thank the Chancellor on his comprehensive demolition of the record of the last 12 years. Their record, their failure, their vicious circle of stagnation. The Chancellor has confirmed that the costs of the energy price cap will be funded by borrowing, leaving the eye-watering windfall profits of the energy giants untaxed.
To other news now. Russian-backed officials in 4 occupied regions of Ukraine are holding self-styled referendums on joining Russia. The so-called votes are taking place over the next 5 days in 4 regions across the south and east of the country. These regions represent around 15% of Ukrainian territory. The referendums have been denounced as illegitimate by Ukraine and the West. Russia argues it's an opportunity for people in the regions to express their views. A second boy has been arrested in connection with the murder of a teenager in West Yorkshire. 15-year-old Tyree McLean was fatally stabbed outside his school in Huddersfield on Wednesday. West Yorkshire police say a 15-year-old boy has been arrested in connection with the death. Yesterday, a 16-year-old was arrested on suspicion of murder. Both remain in custody. TV, online and DAB+ radio, this is GB News. Now it's straight back to Patrick.
Yes, welcome to Friday Night Feast, everybody. Now, we want to bring a little bit of light and humour and all of that to your Friday evening. But before that, I did actually want to get stuck right into something that I care deeply about, and I know that you do as well. I am sick and tired of political correctness. I've had enough. While everybody is tripping over themselves to make sure nobody is offended, the country is going to the dogs. There's going to be an inquiry into what's happened in Leicester and in Birmingham, where essentially race riots kicked off unabated while a small number of police pretty much stood back and watched. We don't need an inquiry into that, do we? The answer is staring us right in the face. Mass, largely uncontrolled immigration has led to foreign problems becoming problems over here. When you couple that with a law enforcement body that's terrified of causing offence, then we end up in a very dangerous situation. My guess is that the inquiry will end up pinning the blame on police officers or some poxy taxpayer-funded community initiative, not doing enough to recognise the specific needs of different racial groups, which meant that they couldn't intervene sooner and stop all of this. That is not the solution. The solution is drilling it into certain groups of people that they simply cannot behave that way in this country. We do have a British culture, we do have a British rule of law, and that must be adhered to. It's such a cop-out to keep having inquiries into things. We had an inquiry into the Manchester Arena bombing. No need for much of an inquiry there either, was there? Our police force is simply not equipped to deal with the sheer level of Islamist extremism now on Britain's streets. Let's have an inquiry into grooming gangs, shall we? Well, no need for one there either. Right across the UK, in my opinion, police forces have been too afraid to tackle the monumental issue of largely South Asian men raping vulnerable working-class white girls on an industrial scale. Now, when it comes to Leicester, how many times do we have to see this kind of thing erupt? A version of the exact same thing. A teacher at Batley Grammar School showed a photograph of the Prophet Muhammad to a group of school children. There was a mob that turned up from all across the country, making threats to kill that teacher. We do not have blasphemy laws in this country. The mob should have been dispersed and people involved arrested. Instead, the police shoved the teacher into protective custody and his job is called into question. There is a mob patrolling the streets of London calling for Zionist Jewish blood, for example. The police just stood by, didn't they? A primary school in Birmingham wanted to teach kids not to bully gay people. And then all of a sudden that's interpreted as them wanting to teach kids how to be gay, and predominantly Muslim parents launched a big protest outside. Police don't want to stoke racial tensions. How many times have we heard that? But those racial and religious tensions have already been stoked, haven't they? Those protests, demonstrations or riots are racial tensions being played out on the streets of Britain. And it's the police's job to stop them. It's too easy to blame fake news spread online or just a few extreme voices. But firstly, if you add up all the just a few extreme voices, it becomes quite a lot of people, doesn't it? And instead of blaming fake news, why don't we blame people gullible enough to take it as fact and then take an extreme reaction to it? Political correctness is getting in the way of policing. It's getting in the way of the vast majority in the media shining a light on the true scale of the issue we now face. And it stops ordinary members of the public, like you and me, having a reasonable discussion and a debate about what some of the negatives of mass immigration can be. Men, women, boys and girls have fought and died for Western liberal values to remain in this country. The fields of Europe are red with the blood of those who did so. And one of those Western liberal values is tolerance, and tolerance is a great thing. But too much tolerance could well lead to capitulation. And I'm concerned that we may well end up being so tolerant of unacceptable behaviour, tolerant of perceived cultural differences, that we end up losing our Western liberal values and our country once and for all. Right, well, we've got loads coming your way on Friday Night Feast. Make sure you get in touch on that, GB Views at gbnews.uk, because we'll go to those in post-person Pat later on. But I'm joined in the studio this evening by Housewives' favourite, Will Geddes. That's right. And also the man you warned your daughters about it, the one and only Aidan McGee. Lock him up, I say. But, yeah, I just wanted a little bit of your reaction to that, chaps, what's been going on in Leicester and Birmingham. Will, I'll start with you. You are, of course, a security expert, and there's not been much security going on there, as far as I can see.
No, I agree with you. I think there's just way too much tolerance for sort of unacceptable behaviour, and I think there is this line that, unfortunately, the police have been treading over gradually. It's almost like a mission creep into not really reacting and responding, and it's not really fair, to be honest, to the vast majority of police officers who actually work really hard and really want to achieve their aims. But it's the higher-ups who never really did the hard graft on the ground that are then putting these initiatives in place and basically handcuffing them from doing their job.
Exactly. Aidan, are you sick and tired of political correctness?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it affects every area of our daily lives. In terms of immigration, the immigration levels are where they are and where they have been because over the last 30 years, and particularly from about 2004 when Tony Blair opened the borders completely with European integration, the levels are where they are because governments, successive governments, of all parties, civil servants are absolutely happy and content with where they are. It's been a choice over that period of time. Now more than ever, with boats coming in on small boats, we've seen the last few weeks, 30,000 a week, I think it is. That's a town the size of Sevenoaks, arriving every 7 days. We've got a serious problem here. I'm hoping if any good comes out of these riots in Leicester and Birmingham this week and across the East Midlands, hopefully that will crystallise the problem and finally make governments do something about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the extortionate amount on an annual basis that you're alluding to there is absolutely vast. And I think we can't underestimate the shifts that's going to have in, I think, British values and this country's ideology.
Yeah, and I think, but also at the same time, and you guys are very good at making sure you get your story straight, which is why I come on with you guys a lot. But I think a lot of the mainstream media have to be very cautious about doing their own speculation and interpretation of what's going on. And what's going on in Leicester at the moment is a little bit more, from what I understand from friends of mine in the Asian community, a little bit more simplistic than perhaps is being reported in the news. So I think we've got to be very careful that how it's reported isn't going to incite even more sort of either anti-immigration or anti-Asian community sort of sentiment.
How do you mean, Will? Do it by a bit more simplistic?
Well, simplistic in terms of, you know, it's not necessarily a religious-born sort of conflict, as far as I understand, in terms of the Hindus and the Sikhs, in terms of how they're reacting. What I'm hearing is it's on a much more community-based level, and it is localised to Leicester. It's not something that we're seeing across the entire country. It is purely in Leicester, and I think it's very important that people don't start trying to make news by fabricating it or speculating beyond what actually the reality is. Keep it on mission.
It is tricky. Just before we move on from this, one final point from you, Aidan, is I am worried that police officers, in some police officers that is, are too afraid of causing offence.
Why would you? Why would you when you're on a middle-income wage? You're standing on the edge of a riot. Now, you could step in the wrong way and your career's gone. Yeah. You're best standing off. You're best being a coward in that situation. And that's where policing has gone in this country.
I agree.
They've incentivised standing off and not dealing with the problem. That's sadly where we are.
Exactly. You mentioned about people's careers being gone, and we are going to now talk about one of this week's biggest stories. Yes, I am returning to Holly Willoughby and Philip Schofield. They are facing calls to be sacked from their roles as presenters of This Morning after they were accused of jumping the queue to see the Queen's coffin last week. And the pair said that they were in Westminster Hall, quote, strictly for the purpose of reporting on the event. And they claimed that they would never jump a queue. But, ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid to say that right here on Friday Night Feast, we've got some exclusive coverage of Phil and Holly up to their old tricks yet again.
Sorry. Guys, come back. Come back. Guys, no, we're not normal people. That's fine.
Oh, sorry guys, not for us, sorry. We're just gonna skip the queue, is that all right? We've just gotta, hi guys, sorry. No, just gonna pay our respects quickly to the Queen. We've got a special pass to see the Queen because it's for journalism. It's just...
Sorry guys, you can't be here.
I know, no, normal people can't be here, but we're all right.
You haven't been notified.
Oh, we have, mate, we have. It's for the Queen, it's for journalism. Can we just through here? Can I just say it's for journalism? Do you mind if we cut in the queue? Do you mind if we just cut? We're all right to just cut in the queue. Well, we tried to pay our respects to the Queen, of course. I mean, how do you feel?
Did it? I was very upset we weren't allowed to, jump the queue.
No. I mean, this could be spun any which way, couldn't it? People might say this is disrespectful, that we don't care about all these people queuing. But in fact, should we speak to people in the... I just wanted to check, do you mind if we just hop in front? I'll just hop in front. Is that right?
You go for it.
See, this is it. It's for journalism. Hi, mate. Sorry, it's just for... We're just filming a documentary about the royal family.
Yeah.
And we basically was told that we don't have to queue up with normal people because they're plebs.
Look, so... If you have tickets, you can come into the building, have obviously with the camera equipment, you can't. Okay. Obviously with these masks as well, you can't really do that either. And also talking to people.
What mask?
Cancel last, mate, cancel last.
No, it's just that we understand that most people have got to queue up for ages to get in and have a ticket and whatever, but we're not normal people.
Is this
we're better than
joke that you guys got going on right now?
We're better than all of these people here. We just wanted to pay our respects to the Queen.
Look, guys, I'm sure this is all fun and games and all joke, but this can't happen today, okay?
Okay, all right, thank you.
I do wish you luck with whatever you'll do.
All right, thank you, mate. Cheers, take care. All right, we didn't quite get in, but at least we don't have to stand in line with normal people, right? I mean, that would be horrendous. Holly, can you imagine standing in line with people?
I just couldn't. I have things to do, I'm better than everyone else.
Yeah. Maybe next time. Ladies and gentlemen, I need to set the record straight on this. What you saw there was not me trying to jump the queue into Madame Tussauds. I was there as a journalist and as a broadcaster to bring you, the great unwashed, an insight into the VIP world that I live in. My magic pass allows me to tell you what it's like, really, to have money and the power to get in and pay my respects to a waxwork of the Queen. So please, please, please don't lecture me about needing to stand around for hours with plebs like you. Why should I run the risk of bumping into the likes of David Beckham or Susanna Reid? At no stage did I break any rules because, as a very important person, I am, of course, above the rules. Right, now, for legal reasons, I'd just like to add that Philip and Holly did absolutely nothing wrong and are absolutely perfect people and indeed great role models for TV personalities and journalists everywhere. Right, OK, so Holly and Phil are still under huge pressure and a petition calling on ITV to sack them has more than 67,000 signatures. So is there any way back for these two? And to discuss this, I'm joined by the publicist and strategist, Mark Borkowski. Hey, how are you?
I'm very well, very amusing that was.
Thank you very much.
I'm staggered that there's still a queue going into Madame Tussauds.
Actually, to be honest with you, so were we. So were we. And when we first got there, there wasn't, so we had to hang around a bit. But anyway, is there any way back for Holly and Phil? Because the public backlash has been pretty mega.
Yeah, of course there is. I mean, 60,000 signatures isn't that big. I mean, that's the way I would spin it. But look, this is all David Beckham's fault, isn't it? I mean, we all know that that people can sort of use their power and influence to get in. This was a classic example of two people not feeling the mood of the nation. And, Bex decides to go through that pilgrimage and it changes the whole vibe around.
But is it like a lot of things, Mark? Is it the cover-up, though, that does for you? Because instead of just saying, OK, we got it wrong.
Really, and also the spin and various people. But this is more about what's going on below the waterline. This is a battle of agents. There's some toxicity around that sort of programme in terms of ex-presenters who might find themselves on other channels at the moment. But I think that this is about an uncoordination. Will they ride it? That's the interesting thing, because the ultimate deciders on this obviously will be advertisers. If the advertisers have moved away from the cult of both Phil and Holly, then ITV will have a good look at it, because, you know, programs will be refreshed. It isn't the end. This will carry on because it's a great story. But this is about how more about Holly and how she doesn't sort of enjoy the same protection as Phil does, and that maybe has something to do with allegedly, I don't know, these are rumours spinning around, that she sort of dumped the agent that actually protected her, who now still represents Phil. I can certainly not comment on.
So hang on a minute. So there's some speculation, which of course you aren't allowed to comment on, but are now definitely about to, which is that potentially there could be Holly and Phil's agents at war, and that could rip apart TV's best husband and wife, for want of a better phrase.
Well, yes, that you know, there is certainly disruption. There are tectonic plates there, no doubt. But you know, you often see these huge social media kerfuffles. You always see these petitions being rolled up. You see this huge generation of sort of content and eyeballs and clickbait around a story. But I mean, I've been looking at many of these sort of kerfuffles for years, and do you know what? People can ride it if they've got a right team, if they can coordinate things, if they can maybe apologise or try and move the thing on. And we've seen, you know, that these have a dive in popularity, but people somehow come back to the top because they're good at what they do, they're popular, and all the people who are not moaning about them, who have still fallen in love with them, their fan base will grow to support them again. But I think this has more to run, but this, as I said, is clearly about the financial aspect of this. If advertisers run away from this morning, then they'll have... It does beg the question, you know, when a certain individual who was on a slightly earlier ITV programme had, I think, potentially fewer people up in arms, maybe, then actually, you know, he was biffed, as it were. But Mark, thank you very much. Mark Bulkowski there, who is a internationally renowned publicist and strategist, talking about whether or not Holly and Phil can ride this one out. Aidan, I'll start with you. I mean, you live in the fast lane. Right? Aidan McGee joins me now. Aidan McGee, you know, you live in the fast lane. You wouldn't be seen dead in a queue, would you?
No, that's not true. No, I queue up with everybody else.
Do you?
But, yeah, I do think it's... joking aside, I do think it's a little bit of an overreaction. They jumped a queue, yeah, they lied about it afterwards. Is it the biggest offence in the world? Is it a reason to jump someone, to push someone out of the job?
Well, they would, of course, deny the fact that they jumped the queue or indeed lied about it.
Yeah,
but they didn't queue up, and then they didn't say that.
No, true. Did you meet the woman with 2 penises, by the way, earlier this week?
No.
Madam Two Swords.
OK. Lovely stuff. Thank you very much. Aidan McGee. Will Geddes now. What do you make of this? Now, I know that you're desperately aware... You are desperate to still appear on shows like This Morning, and so you wouldn't want to...
You're desperate. No, Holly and Phil are nice. I like them. They're all right. Look, I'm split. So when I queue for something, myself, I'll queue. Happily get to the back.
Yeah.
If I'm working for a principal, I can't tell you the number of events and queues and various things I have pushed through for my principals.
Right.
So, really, I don't see a big deal about it. To be honest, if I'm moving a VIP through, then, yes, you know, people will get all upset and whiny and, you know, moany about it. I don't really care.
No.
I'll get my principal through.
Well, it's your job, though, isn't it? It's your job to
Exactly. Yeah, it doesn't bother me. So I've barged my way to the front of lots of queues. People as important as you, Patrick. So next time you want to go out...
I bet you do it in a charming way, though, don't you?
No.
No, fair enough. Right, well, I want to know what you think, people. Do you think that Holly and Phil should be sacked? Do you think they should keep their job? Email me, gbviews@gbnews.uk. You can tweet me as well, @gbnews. And if you're very lucky and you say incredibly nice things about me, I will read your message out a little bit later on in the show. But next up, it's a time for our big debate. After the Chancellor Kwasi Kwarteng unveiled his not-so-mini budget earlier today, I had one question for the great British public.
Do you want to pay more tax?
No, bloody don't.
Why not?
Because I'm a teacher and I didn't get my 5% thing.
Right, OK, fine. Do you think some people should pay more tax?
Yeah, probably.
Would you pay more tax if you lived there?
No.
Why not?
Because my money. I want to keep my money.
You want to keep your money? Thank you, sir. Do you want to pay more tax?
No.
Why not?
Because I pay enough. I don't paid enough.
You feel like you've paid enough over the years?
Over the years, yeah.
Okay.
So,
should anyone be paying more tax, do you think?
no, I think the tax is fine at the moment. Yeah, absolutely fine at the moment.
What about some people say, oh, we need it to fund public services and stuff like that?
I get that. Maybe the richer pay more tax.
Do you want to pay more tax?
No one wants to pay more tax.
No. So are you happy? Have you seen anything about this new budget?
I've seen it. It's probably a little bit of rob Peter to pay Paul scenario, but you know, what do I know?
Okay, and so just FYI, did you know that if you wanted to, which you don't, which is fair enough, neither do I, you can pay more tax. You can just send a cheque to HMRC.
I'm sure you can.
Not going to be happening?
No, I don't think so.
Do you want to pay more tax?
Yes,
Why?
because it makes society fairer.
We are GB News.
And we'd like to say thank you
To each and every one of you.
For helping our great nation.
Find its voice.
We're absolutely everywhere.
Across England, Scotland,
Wales and Northern Ireland.
On TV.
On radio.
and online.
We're proud to be
The People's Channel. Britain's
News channel.
On the Mark Steyn Show, we cover the stories a lot of people are scared even to mention. The stuff that really matters with some of the world's biggest thinkers.
Now is his opportunity to kind of take the steering wheel of history.
Break away from the flop at 8 o'clock on GB News with the Mark Steyn Show.
Hello, I'm Esther McVeigh.
And I'm Philip Davis.
Whether you're watching or listening on TV, online or on radio, we handpick the latest stories, debates and expert opinions for your weekend. So whether that's politics, news or showbiz, we've got it covered.
Join us every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock on GB News.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. You've been cancelled. Join the club. Oh my goodness me. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
Welcome back to a typically chaotic Friday night feast. This morning, the Chancellor Kwasi Kwarteng unveiled a mini-budget that he hails as a new era for the country's economy. So he announced cuts in income tax, yes, cut in, and national insurance, as well as a reduction in stamp duty and the scrapping of a cap of bankers' bonuses. Important I say that correctly. Our very own Nigel Farage was impressed with what he heard. He called it the best Conservative budget since 1986. But the Labour Party reacted very differently. Shadow Chancellor Rachel Reeves said that the budget rewards the already wealthy and accused the government of being detached from reality, while the Mayor of Greater Manchester, Andy Burnham, called the budget immoral. In total, the mini-budget contains £45 billion worth of tax cuts. Yes! So, what I'm asking tonight is, should rich people pay more tax? All right, to discuss this, I'm joined by Luke Hildyard, who is the Executive Director of the High Pay Centre, and Mark Littlewood as well, who's the Director General of the Institute of Economic Affairs. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining me. Luke, I will start with you. Instead of your overall opinions on this budget, let's just drill down in it. Do you think that the rich should be paying more tax?
Yeah, I think so. This budget cuts will represent a saving of about $5,000 for someone who's making $200,000 a year. But would they rather have that $5,000, or would they rather their mum was able to get a GP appointment? We need good hospitals and schools and public transport infrastructure and local government services for people to thrive and to lead good lives. And that necessitates a tax contribution from people. And obviously, those who are in highly rewarded positions should be contributing a bit more towards that, particularly in this in a difficult economic climate. I think it's it's an eccentric decision to decide that now's the time.
All right,
to,
I'll stop you there because we'll come back to
wealthy
you.
people even
All right,
more
we'll come back to you.
comfortable.
Mark Littlewood, who is Director General of the Institute of Economic Affairs. Should the rich be paying more?
Not than they are at the moment, because the problem is it always becomes a bit more. The problem with the argument we've just heard is when are the circumstances in which you think the rich might be paying their fair share? Has that position ever prevailed in recent history? Of course the rich should pay more tax, and they do. If you're earning a good salary, you're paying a lot more tax than if you earn a poor salary. That's how the tax system operates. What the government tried to do today is say it's not all about taking one slice of the pie and giving it to another. We've actually got to get off that cycle of just working out how you divvy things up, because the real problem in the economy has been growth, has been woeful for the last 15 years. Wages have been stagnant. The economy has been growing, Patrick, at the rate of about 1% a year in round terms. We need to get it back to 2 or 3% a year. And that means incentives across the board. We have tried to deafen destruction the idea that the solution to every problem is to get a bit more tax out of the rich. Unfortunately, after 15, 20 years of attempting it, it doesn't seem to have done much for the poor.
OK, all right, I'll lob that back over to you, Luke. You've heard what Mark Littlewood has had to say there. Some people would say that, you know, you lack a bit of aspiration.
I feel I've been living in a slightly different country or world to Mark the past 15 years. I mean, I think it will depend on your perspective. But I recall George Osborne cutting corporation tax, cutting inheritance tax, cutting the top rate of income tax. Kwasi Kwarteng said today our entire focus is on making Britain more globally competitive. George Osborne was always going on about the global race. Britain taxes much less than European countries. We certainly spend less on supporting people on lower incomes, and we also have lower median household incomes in just about everywhere in Western Europe. So,
all right, Luke. Mark's shaking his head, Luke. Mark's shaking his head at you. What's going on, Mark?
We see continuation. Parallel universe. Tax is at its highest rate in total as a proportion of national income for 70 years, since the late 1940s. You can argue how it's divvied up, but the total tax rate is the highest it's been in our lifetimes by far. Public spending is the highest it's been in our lifetimes by far. Regulation is its highest in British history by far. You have indeed been living in a parallel universe. Tax has gone up, spending has gone up, regulation has gone up, and it doesn't seem to have cracked the poverty problem. Mark, time for a different strategy, surely.
Mark, I'll throw one back to you, Mark, and then I'll let Luke come in on it, because I think one of Luke's points was about public services, right, which is about GPs and the NHS and teachers and whatever, right? So unless we have more tax at the rich, I mean, how are we going to be able to fund pay rises for them or more money for public services, which is what people really care about?
Well, you need economic growth is what you need, Patrick. There aren't enough multimillionaires in this country to fund the NHS entirely out of their income tax. Right? What you need in order to fund it is to get economic growth coming back, so that typically, on average, it won't be the same for every person every year, but that you see your salary going up by, say, 2-3% above inflation. That should be the norm. When you get that, tax revenues start flowing in. It's no accident that 15 years since the global financial crisis, there or thereabouts, high tax, high spend, high regulation, that's the universe I've been living in. Those are the actual numbers. I don't quite know what Luke's been observing, hasn't delivered this. So we've got to get back to a strategy that delivers economic growth. Everybody pays more then. If everybody's salary is going up, they spend more, they contribute more in income tax. That's how you get public services properly funded. And this put up the rates, have more regulations, and as I say, public spending has outstripped economic growth since 2015 by an enormous factor. Hasn't worked for the poor or indeed for many other people.
OK, Luke, there's lots for you to come back to there. Go on, crack on.
Well, I'd just say that there's no correlation between the low taxation and economic growth, or low regulation and economic growth. What it really achieves is that people in the middle and at the bottom who rely on the NHS, the education system, public transport, can't afford to go to private healthcare or use private schools or whatever, lose out. The countries that are generally more prosperous than us Scandinavia, Germany, the Netherlands, other parts of Northwest Europe, tend to tax more and provide more in terms of public services and social security. And I think, that's what we need to be thinking about, particularly at such a difficult moment in time for our economy and in terms of people's household incomes and covering the cost of living.
OK, both of you, thank you very, very much. Great to have that chat. Appreciate you making the time for us, especially on a Friday evening. It looks like both of you are in Westminster, so you can hit the pubs around that area right now. Luke Hilliard, who is the Executive Director of the High Pay Centre, and Mark Littlewood as well, who's the Director General of the Institute of Economic Affairs. Great stuff. Right, OK. Well, both of you two, Will Geddes joins me in the studio right now alongside the wonderful Aidan McGee. Will, I'll start with you. As someone who is fabulously wealthy, are you pleased that you're going to pay less tax?
Yes, evidently. But also, I think, we need to keep this in perspective. I mean, I look after a lot of people who are even wealthier than you, Patrick.
Really?
Yep, there are a few. But, these guys, like me, we pay our taxes. We pay more than our fair share of taxes.
So you pay your taxes?
I do, Patrick.
Good grief.
Do you
What's
not?
that like? What?
Over to Aidan.
Yeah, well, Aidan McGee, with your extensive property portfolio that
Yes,
you don't like to
huge
bang on
portfolio.
about, how does this particular mini-budget affect you?
I don't think it's going to affect me in a major way, actually. I mean, the tax system, I don't think it's quite as unfair as people make out. For example, I do a tax return every year on the properties. I'm incentivised to invest in properties. So, for example, if I've got a tax bill, it's more advantageous to me to buy a new bathroom or a new kitchen for one of the properties. So I'm spending the money on the property instead of just handing it over to the Exchequer. Now, what that does, it increases the value of the properties long term. It makes them easier for me to rent. It also puts money in the pockets of the people who fit the bathrooms, the shops who sell me the materials and everything. So the materials are going up, believe me. So I won't know really until later in the year, but just generally speaking, we've had 12 years of a social democratic kind of wet tourism.
Yeah.
It's nice to see us go back to something.
So it's about the churn of the money. It's getting the money back into out of our wallets. And the problem is, I think people have been sitting on it with this whole fear of the rising cost of living. People are going to sit on their money, and what we need is that money to churn.
Yes,
it needs to go to local businesses.
But what we also need, lads, is a return to out-and-out political tribalism. For so long, it's been really stagnant. It's been so
great.
dull
They
for
agree on
people
everything.
like
It's a period of consensus.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Now we've got genuine visceral disdain on each side of the house. We've got genuine Tories over there and genuine socialists and Labour over there, and I love to see it because it breeds hatred. What? Anyway, after the break, it's time for Challenge Christys, and I did this a couple of weeks ago. We were interrupted by some quite important news, of course, and I have been buzzing about this ever since. Find out next what happened when I went head-to-head with Matt Le Tissier, an absolute sporting legend.
We are GB News.
And we'd like to say thank you
To each and every one of you.
for helping our great nation.
Find its voice.
We're absolutely everywhere.
Across England, Scotland,
Wales and Northern Ireland.
On TV.
on radio and online.
We're proud to be
The People's Channel, Britain's
News channel.
On the Mark Steyn Show, we cover the stories a lot of people are scared even to mention. The stuff that really matters with some of the world's biggest thinkers.
Now is his opportunity to kind of take the steering wheel of history.
Break away from the flop at 8 o'clock on GB News with the Mark Steyn Show.
Hello, I'm Esther McVeigh.
And I'm Philip Davis.
Whether you're watching or listening on TV, online or on radio, we handpick the latest stories, debates and expert opinions for your weekend. So whether that's politics, news or showbiz, we've got it covered.
Join us every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock on GB News.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. You've been cancelled. Join the club. Oh my goodness me. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
Welcome back to Friday Night Feast, and yes, it is Challenge Christys time, where you set me a challenge and I show you just how wonderful I am at it. And this week's challenge is on the way in just a minute, but first, regular viewers and listeners will know that I'm getting ready for the ultimate challenge. I am going to be strutting my stuff with the Dream Boys at some point. They've gone a bit quiet on us, but I have now lost a load of weight, so I'm hoping they get back in touch with us. Anyway, it's a group of male strippers. Now, back in April, of course, I joined a couple of them at their particular rehearsal studio, and if you're watching on GBNews TV or on our YouTube channel, I'm sure that you'll agree I've got some pretty good moves. But when it came to the big moment, I bottled it, and as a result, I promised that I'd lose 1.5 stones and dance with the Dream Boys in front of a live audience. Few things happened since then. I have now lost 1.5 stones. We had it lined up. Issues got in the way of it. There was a rather major news event. In fact, there was another rather major news event, and in the end, we've had to push it back. But, you do not get to see a body like mine for free. So, I'm raising money for the mental health charity Mind. And so far, you lovely people have raised £22,080. We want more. We want more, OK? And it is the link to be able to donate, of course, is justgiving.com/challenge Christys. So make sure that you get in touch with that. You can see that link on your screen right now. Mind do incredible work. It's all for a good cause to essentially save lives, OK? So justgiving.com/fundraising/challenge Christys. justgiving.com/fundraising/challenge Christys. If we can get a few £100 in there tonight, that would be absolutely belting. But it is time to show you this week's challenge. I've done some brilliant things in the last few months. I landed an aeroplane. I fought a professional boxer. But for this challenge, I got to meet a real sporting legend. Check this out. Yes, hello everybody, welcome to the latest instalment of Challenge Christys. Now, as you can see, I'm here at the wonderful Haringey Borough FC, and you may remember this from your telly, actually, because they hosted Wimbledon in the FA Cup not so long ago. They've got another FA Cup game today, but yeah, I think it's pretty obvious what I'm doing, really, isn't it? I imagine I'll play for the team, start up front, smash home a hat-trick, but we'll go through the formalities, shall we, of seeing what's in this? I think I must say, of all of the envelopes that I've been handed to open up my Challenge Christys, this is by far and away the cheapest looking, but it does say check contents immediately, so I think I better had to, hadn't I? Right. Here we go. Yes, well, shock horror, it is a football challenge. So basically what's going to happen now is I presume I just kick a ball about with this bunch of rank amateurs.
Hi, I'm Matt Letizia, 540 appearances for Southampton Football Club, 209 goals and 8 England caps. Not bad at penalties either. OK, Patrick, few press-ups now. Off we go. Patrick, come on. Whoa. We're going to be professional footballers here. We've got to see something a little bit more than that.
You haven't done this for years, mate. What are you shouting at me for?
Come on. Get with the programme. I mean, that is pathetic. 20 press-ups, come on, off you go.
1001, 1002.
Is that it? Is that all you've got?
1005.
This is not what professional footballers do.
This is as fast as I can go. Oh.
Intensity. We need intensity. Where is it? Goodness gracious me. Come on, where's your mobility, man? OK, knees to chest. Knees up higher, higher.
Oh, yes.
Come on, is that the highest your legs will go?
There we go, that's the one.
Get it up there. What's the matter with you? You
can even do it backwards.
Come on, Patrick, higher.
OK, all right.
What is the matter with you? What am I doing here? I'm wasting my time.
No way I can do that. I haven't kicked the ball for ages. How is he on that? Good grief. It just keeps doing it. It's quite mesmerising. I think I've been hypnotised by Letizia. He's doing it with both feet. I thought we only had one foot.
So, the first challenge we're going to do is the keepy up challenge. I've just done about 100, but I'm not going to be that hard on Patrick. I'm going to try and get him to do 20. Nothing too difficult. Right, where is he?
Hey, what are we on?
2.
9, 10. Oh, no! Yes, sir, on the bounce. So.
11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20!
OK, well, I think we can all agree that kick-ups was far too easy. Matt, what's next?
free kick challenge. Now, this one is going to be a bit more difficult, mate. My most famous free kick I've probably scored in my career against Wimbledon. Ball gets rolled back to me. I flick the ball up for myself, and then I hit a volley into that top right-hand corner up there.
So top right-hand corner, yeah? And as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, we've decided to get the largest goalkeeper in the world here to come and do it for us. This is Keith, our wonderful producer. OK, but I mean, you made it look so easy, so I'm thinking I'd just knock it up, smash it in, job done.
Easy.
Shall I tee you up first? You can try and show us how it's done.
Right.
Yeah?
I'll see if I can still do it.
You see, I'm sure you can, And obviously, we've got the world's smallest goalkeeper, so hopefully it'll be all right. Right, then, where should I put it?
Just about there is perfect. I'll take my position.
OK. Roll it back to you and get out of the way. All right, ready? Oh, yeah! Look at that. OK, so I've seen how it's done. Now it's my turn.
Good luck, mate.
All right, OK. Oh, no. Oh.
Getting the flick right is the hardest part. You did that brilliantly.
It was just...
All you need is the execution of the shot. Just a little bit of composure once the ball's flicked up. Compose yourself.
You know what? What's devastating is when the ball left my foot, I thought, I've absolutely smashed this in the back of the net first time. Then I looked up and just saw it going into a different postcode. So, all right, one more.
OK.
I think we got this. Oh. So, can we have our ball back, please? So, just in case you've missed that, right, I've smashed a ball over a 40-foot high fence, and a woman has almost returned it on the volley in a way that I can only dream of. So, we'll do one more. Can we move the goals that way? Is that all right? To be fair, at this rate, I could probably play in front for United, so...
I think you probably could. Yes. Oh, I like it.
Oh! I really thought that was going in. No! Oh, mate, OK. Right, what I like about this, ladies and gentlemen, is the fact that the cameraman feels so safe standing in the back of the net.
Well, he's just seen 569 attempts from over there.
Fizz off over there and over there. So he's now completely safe, directly in the middle of the goal. So, all right, thanks for the vote of confidence, cameraman Paul. OK, well, that's enough of me trying to replicate the world-famous Matt Le Tissier free kick from the edge of the box. I actually turned up and did my Emil Heskey impression, but now it's penalties, and you were somewhat of a specialist, weren't you?
Kind of, yeah, not too bad a record, 47 out of 48.
Yeah, OK, that's all right. Can I ask what happened on the 48th?
It was actually about the 21st or 22nd, I think it was.
Not that you saw about it.
First half, about 37 minutes.
OK.
Mark Crossley was in goal. We're playing Nottingham Forest, and he managed to read where I was hitting it, made a save. The really annoying bit about it was that he actually made the save, parried it straight back out to me, and from about 6 or 7 yards out with my left foot, I managed to put it over the crossbar.
But did you have to have that confidence to step up and just take the next one?
Yes, I think as a penalty taker, I mean, I'd scored like 21 out of 21 or something.
Oh, good. OK, all right, sweet. So you're going to basically teach me how to take the perfect penalty?
I'm going to try.
OK, good. Right, let's do it. OK, so what we've decided between the two of us is that he didn't want me to show him up when we were taking penalties. So he thought, why don't I go in goal? We've got a slight issue because the bright orange of these gloves has been attracting wasps. OK, so we'll see that. But, yeah, so you've scored how many penalties was it again, remind me?
47 out of 48.
My only chance is to hope that you miss. He's so good at penalties. Well, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. That's it for another stellar episode of Challenge Christys. I was rubbish at free kicks. I was rubbish at taking penalties. I didn't enjoy the warm-up. But it turns out I am one of a collection of just 2 people in the world who can say they've saved a Matt Le Tissier penalty.
Absolutely.
Yes, fantastic. OK, well, so do you think I'll get signed at some point, or...?
No chance whatsoever.
OK, good stuff. I'm starting to like you as well. See you back in the studio.
Oh, cones. Fetch.
Well, I must say I thoroughly enjoyed that challenge. If you're listening on GB News Radio, you can watch that right now on our YouTube channel or Facebook, as well as Twitter. But I'm delighted to say that the real star of this week's challenge, a fan favourite here at GB News, Matt Le Tissier, joins me now. Matt, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, Patrick. How are you doing?
Yes, I'm doing very, very well, thank you. All the better for saving one of your penalties, I must say. I'm now one of only 2 people. We tried to get Mark Crosley on, but we couldn't afford him. So there we go. Believe it or not, it's the only way he makes his money these days. But Matt, I just wanted to say thank you very much for taking part in that challenge. Before we have a bit of a wider discussion with you, I mean, do you miss having a kick about? Do you miss that feeling of the ball hitting the back of the net?
I still play a little bit. We have a few charity matches with our ex-Southampton players team locally, so we still get to enjoy that a little bit. And I still play a little bit of five-a-side occasionally. But like you, I should follow your example, actually. I could do with losing a stone and a half.
Yeah, there you go. I need to lose a bit more, actually, because since that particular incident, I haven't been to the gym. So there we go. But, Matt, I wanted to get you on because, not just because of this, but because as well of the fact that, you know, you're someone who's been a victim of a bit of cancel culture. I mean, and we don't stand for that kind of nonsense here at GB News. How are you doing with all of that stuff? I mean, it must have been a bit of a rocky road for you because you basically just stood up and said that you didn't want a vaccine.
Yeah, it has been somewhat of a rocky road, but it's one that I have no regrets in treading, even though, you know, things have happened that have changed my life. But if I had the chance to do it all again, I would do exactly the same thing. You know, I've always really been advocating for the last 2.5 years that everybody needs to be able to see both sides of the story and make their own mind up about stuff. And apparently that has me labelled as all sorts of names that, you know, people throw around these labels to try and discredit anything that you've said. But a lot of what I've said over the last couple of years has come to fruition. So,
well, like what? Go on, run us through some of Matt Le Tizier's greatest hits. We did not have the rights. The Premier League refused to give us the rights to a video of your greatest goals. So we might as well do the greatest hits now of Matt Le Tizier's lockdown scepticism.
Yeah, I mean, I said very early on, I thought that lockdowns would cause more harm than the good that they would do. And I think there's plenty of scientific evidence now to back that statement up. You know, I just thought early on in this, there was some not very nice stuff at play, that it would possibly lead to mandatory vaccinations and digital IDs. All things that have been spoken about quite comprehensively over the last 18 months. And these are big things in life, you know, and people, when I first mentioned them, because of the circles that I was talking in, when I first mentioned them, I was labelled as a conspiracy theorist, tinfoil wearing nutter. Still, I don't do this because I don't want to be the person. I have no desire in saying I told you so. That's not what the reason is. My reason for doing it is to try to warn people of what is coming down the road if you're not careful with what you allow your government to do to you.
But isn't it absolutely amazing, Matt, that all power to you, whether or not people agree with you, for actually speaking up and standing firm on what you believe? Because you alluded to mixing in certain circles there, and whether that's the footballing world or the punditry world, I call some of those people lovies. They were too afraid to maybe say what they actually think, and they kept their rather cushy jobs, but actually they sold their principles down the river, whereas you didn't do that, did you?
No, and that's the one thing that I've always said over this last 2.5 years, is that when my head hits the pillow at night, I sleep very soundly with the decisions I've made.
And you obviously would do it all again, and you must feel quite vindicated now because, shock horror, Matt, the coronavirus pandemic is over.
Well, I don't really feel vindicated in any way, shape or form. I feel a little bit sad that we had to go through that stage. And you know, as for all that stuff being over, I'm not so sure it is just yet. So I think there's still plenty of battles ahead. I think we've got battles in front of us that we have to fight the government on.
Just talk to me quickly, Matt, about what you think they might be.
Well, I certainly think that our freedoms will be eroded by our government with the online harm safety bill and the stuff that's going through there. I think people need to be aware of exactly the implications of what might be coming down the road if those things do get implemented. Then I think we're in for a very tough time. I think you're talking about central bank digital currencies that they're talking about now. And once you have a cashless society, I'm afraid you're reliant on your government for every single thing that you purchase. And if you have a little bit of wrong think and you don't agree with what the government are telling you, very easy for them to turn your cash off at any point, to turn your digital currency off at any point. So I think for me, one of the biggest things is that we make sure that, you know, cash does not get driven out of our society, because it's a very dangerous thing for our freedoms if it does.
Isn't it amazing that football gets a lot of criticism for not producing great intellectual minds, and then it does produce one and he gets cancelled from football punditry? But there you go. Matt, I just want to have a quick look again to relive your utter misery at me saving one of your penalties. I believe we can just play another clip of me pulling one out of the bottom left-hand corner there. There he goes, a penalty. The satisfying thud of leather on very cheap goalkeeping glove. Matt, your thoughts when you missed that penalty?
I think, to be quite honest, I think fatigue had set in, because I think that was about penalty number 620 that I'd taken against you just to get that shot. So I was a little bit disappointed, but fair play to you. It was a good save. And by the way, I know you derided your ability at taking free kicks, but there were a couple of those free kicks that were incredibly good efforts and just inches from being the perfect free kick. So there is a modicum of talent there.
Oh, there he is. Thank you very much, Matt. Great to have you on the show, as always. And keep fighting the good fight, my man, Matt Le Tissier there. Now, I'm very lucky, actually, because one of my panellists here, right here in the studio, is a massive football fan. He's got a very long history of sports journalism and broadcast. Very knowledgeable, of course, about the sport. So, Will, what did you make of my efforts?
I thought he looked pretty good. Croquet's not really my sport, though.
No, absolutely. But seriously, though, I mean, you, Aidan McGee, ladies and gentlemen, if you are just tuning in or listening on radio, of course, you have had years at the thick end of sports broadcasting.
Yeah, I saw Matt play very early on in his career, in 1986. I was only actually one of the people who tipped him to go quite far in the sport.
So he owes it all to you?
Doesn't owe it all to me, no, it doesn't owe it. But I saw him play in August 1986.
Right.
So it's a long way back, you know. That's and I remember him being in the Panini sticker book, and amazing he didn't get more than 8 caps for England, actually, because he's a hugely talented player, but managers didn't want to really build their whole teams around him. That was the problem. He could have gone to Tottenham in 1995, possibly achieving Chelsea as well. Didn't make those moves. I suppose you could say it was loyalty, really, and obviously I got to know him a little bit later on in the Sky Days as well.
Yeah, what he actually didn't say there, which I'm very grateful for, and what we somehow missed out at the edit, was there was a fence behind that goal, right? And that fence was not high enough, and there was one free kick that I absolutely shanked, and it went straight into a row of terrace houses, and some woman just opened her back door and just shouted at me, "Not again!" You know, like it happens all the time. And also, can I just say as well, I did enjoy being at Haringey Borough Football Club, but what I didn't realise, Haringey Borough Football Club, is that your car park is pay and display, and I got a £100 fine for filming that, so thank you very much. Anyway, I love doing all these challenges, and the best thing about them is that my viewers and my listeners, they come up with the ideas. So if you've got a challenge that you want to see me have a go at, what are you waiting for? Email me directly, patrick@gbnews.uk. I do check all those emails. I do get back to certain people as well, so make sure that you do. If you're very lucky, very, very lucky, I might just rock up and show you how brilliant I am at absolutely everything. Right, well, there we go. Thank you very much, everyone who's been getting in touch as well. We're going to go to some of your emails very shortly. It's coming up to 8 o'clock. The first hour has absolutely flown by. I must say, I've really missed doing this show because of everything that's gone on.
Yeah.
I had a bit of time off, and then, of course, the sad passing of our dear Queen. We've not actually been able to do Friday Night Feast for a long time, but we've got lots more on the way between now and 9 p.m. We will hear about the drink driver who told a court that it was her dog who was actually behind the wheel. I will do my very best to rehome a rescue dog. Different one. This one's not a drunk driver.
Not a driving one.
No. We had to put that one down.
Rough justice.
Absolute rough justice. You love to see it. This doesn't just happen, ladies and gentlemen. It's our ever-popular featured Dog of the Week, and we'll meet the man who's fathered more than 50 children, and he's not stopped yet. I'll see you in a few minutes.
We are GB News.
And we'd like to say thank you
To each and every one of you.
for helping our great nation.
Find its voice.
We're absolutely everywhere.
Across England, Scotland,
Wales and Northern Ireland.
On TV.
On radio.
and online.
We're proud to be
The People's Channel, Britain's
news channel.
On the Mark Steyn Show, we cover the stories a lot of people are scared even to mention. The stuff that really matters with some of the world's biggest thinkers.
Now is his opportunity to kind of take the steering wheel of history.
Break away from the flop at 8 o'clock on GB News with the Mark Steyn Show.
Hello, I'm Esther McVeigh.
And I'm Philip Davis.
Whether you're watching or listening on TV, online or on radio, we handpick the latest stories, debates and expert opinions for your weekend. So whether that's politics, news or showbiz, we've got it covered.
Join us every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock on GB News.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch.
You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh my goodness me! And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
Welcome back, everybody, to Friday Night Feast with me, Patrick Christys. And in a few minutes' time, I'll speak to the man who's fathered more than 50 children. Now, we'll put on my judge's wig as some of this week's bad boys and girls go on trial in Christys' courtroom. And we'll meet this week's national treasure. And he will basically put all you couch potatoes out there to shame. That's all on the way before 9 o'clock. But first, here are the latest headlines brought to you this evening by the wonderful Tamsin Roberts.
Patrick, thank you. Here's the latest from the GB newsroom. The Chancellor has hailed a new era for growth as he announced the largest series of tax cuts in half a century. As part of the government's mini-budget, Kwasi Kwarteng told the Commons he plans to abolish the 45% top rate of income tax for the highest earners. He also said he'll bring forward the planned basic rate reduction from 20 to 19 pence from April next year. The major spending package also includes cuts to stamp duty and the scrapping of the planned increase in corporation tax. The Chancellor says today's a good day for the UK.
We were facing a situation where the tax burden was at a 70-year high, and that was completely unacceptable. The Prime Minister campaigned for the leadership on the basis that we were going to reduce taxes, and that's exactly what we've done. The path we were on was simply unsustainable. We couldn't simply raise taxes indefinitely and hope that we would get prosperity. That's why this morning I reduced the tax burden across the piece, and I'm very, very committed to that.
Meanwhile, Shadow Chancellor Rachel Reeves says the mini-budget is nothing new.
Can I thank the Chancellor on his comprehensive demolition of the record of the last 12 years. Their record, their failure, their vicious circle of stagnation. The Chancellor has confirmed that the costs of the energy price cap will be funded by borrowing, leaving the eye-watering windfall profits of the energy giants untaxed.
In other news, Russian-backed officials in 4 occupied regions of Ukraine are holding self-styled referendums on joining Russia. The so-called votes are taking place over the next 5 days in 4 regions across the south and east of the country. These regions represent around 15% of Ukrainian territory. They've been denounced as illegitimate by Ukraine and the West. Russia argues it's an opportunity for people in the regions to express their views. A second arrest has been made in connection with the murder of a teenager in West Yorkshire. 15-year-old Hyrie McLean was fatally stabbed outside his school in Huddersfield on Wednesday. West Yorkshire police say a 15-year-old boy has been arrested in connection with the death. Yesterday, a 16-year-old was arrested on suspicion of murder. Both remain in custody. This is GB News on TV, online and DAB+ radio. Time now to get back to Patrick.
Yes, OK, welcome back, everybody. This is Patrick Christys on Friday Night Feast. It is typically chaos here, but anyway, every town or city has got its dodgy parts. But on one estate in the West Midlands, residents say that they are living in fear. It's been dubbed Britain's roughest estate. It is Blakenhall in Walsall. If you're living there right now, good luck to you, because it's being compared to war-torn Ukraine, with reports saying that yobs as young as 10 years old have been committing crimes such as ripping live pigeons apart. That's right. So now, tormented residents and business owners are demanding action following a string of incidents, including arson attacks, fly tipping, thefts, assaults and vandalism. Apparently, it really is carnage there. But joining us now to talk about some of the causes of such antisocial behaviour is forensic psychiatrist Dr. Shaham Das. And the reason why I wanted to get you on, Dr. Shaham, thank you very, very much for joining us, is because when I read these reports of, you know, kids, feral kids, yobbos, out there, in this case, ripping live pigeons apart, I think, you know, where are the parents in all this, and should we bring back the cane? What on earth is going on with all of this stuff? Why do kids go out there and do this kind of stuff? Because they're tearing Britain to pieces.
Well, that's a great question, Patrick. First of all, thank you for having me on your show. I think, first of all, we have to define what the problem is, right? So what do we mean by antisocial behaviour, antisocial attitudes? To me, that is aggression, deceitfulness, just a lack of guilt, a lack of remorse, a lack of empathy for their actions, and just this general social irresponsibility, so not caring about the community, not caring about the environment. But to answer your question, what causes it? I definitely think it's something that's learnt. It's a learnt behaviour that children have from their parents, from their peers. So if you grow up in a household where you witness violence, domestic violence, maybe you're the victim of violence yourself, you model this violence and you use it as a way to manage conflict. And I think if you're a victim of violence, or you're a victim of these attitudes, and you grow up in that kind of pro-criminal, anti-authoritarian environment, then it's just very easy for you to carry on those mistakes and to copy that behaviour.
Do you think that we're too afraid to call out bad parenting in this country?
Yeah, I think the whole attitude towards parenting and being critical towards parenting has changed definitely since the last generation. So I think people are more worried about offending than they are about actually calling out antisocial parenting and antisocial behaviour. Absolutely.
And kids don't tend to feel the consequences these days, or even think about them clearly. I mean, the idea for me when I was younger about, you know, going and vandalising a shop front, or, dare I say it, ripping a live pigeon apart with my bare hands outside a corner shop, as indeed seems to be happening in what we're calling Blakehell in Walsall, I wouldn't have done that because I'd have been worried about either getting in trouble at home or getting in trouble with the police. But kids these days don't seem to care about coppers, do they?
Well, yeah. So if you're growing up in an environment where your parents don't care, maybe your parents are pro-criminogenic, maybe they explain to you that there are illegitimate ways to make money, shoplifting, antisocial behaviour. If your parents don't care, then why would you care? If your parents don't respect the police, if they don't show respect to authority, like school teachers, for example, then why would you care?
But then is it tough for parents as well? Because, dare I say it, if you even give your kid a little smack these days, before you know it, the NSPCC are around.
Yeah, well, that is definitely the way that the old zeitgeist has changed over time. Absolutely, yeah.
It's trouble, though, isn't it, I think? Because discipline for kids now, we've got things like knife crime, rampant drug dealing, lack of respect for authority in general. And I'm worried about, if we play the tape forward, what this looks like. I mean, dare I say it, everywhere might end up looking like Blakehell in Walsall.
Well, I think there's definitely certain areas where that kind of attitude can fester, but I think it's probably a bit hyperbolic to say that that would happen anywhere, because, you know, there are very pro-social communities and there are people who care about the law and respect the community. So I think it's more likely to fester in certain deprived areas than it is to happen everywhere.
Yeah, and how can we improve these things? Do we just have to, in your opinion, are you a product of your own surroundings? So if you see in an area that every shop is shut down and that signs are falling off buildings and whatever, do you see deprivation all around, that you're less likely to care about your area and more likely to want to vandalise it yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So if nobody else around you, your peers, kids your own age, your own family members, your parents don't care about the environment and don't show it respect, then you're very less likely to care about it yourself. But to answer your question of how you solve this, I mean, that's a really, really hard question. I think the core causes have to be addressed. Things like poverty, deprivation, drug abuse, a lack of job opportunities or education within particular communities. Those are the core things that you really need to deal with first before you can actually really tackle individual behaviour.
Great stuff. Thank you very, very much. Brilliant to have you on the show. Really appreciate you making the time for us, especially here on a Friday evening. Dr. Shaham. Now, I'm going to bring my panel in, easy for me to say. Will Geddes, you're a security expert.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, I think parents are to blame for this. I think sometimes, you know, they need to maybe just give the kids a little thick ear.
That's how I was brought up, and look at me now.
So you hardly ever twitch these days.
Hardly ever. No, on a serious note, yeah, I grew up where a couple would give me a clip across their ear if I did something wrong. Or if they didn't, my parents did, or both of them did. I've also operated in the darkest parts of this world, and I remember being in Basra in Iraq when a 10-year-old kid shot a soldier in the face with a 9mm. So, as far as I'm concerned, if I was in that part of the world, this part of the Midlands, and whether I was there or I was here in London, if a kid comes up and wants to be antisocial, is offensive to my girlfriend or to me or anyone else, I'll give him a clip across the ear. I won't. It's not going to stop me. You step onto an adult platform, you're going to get adult treatment.
Well, Aidan McGee, the big question I want to know here is, if the parents aren't going to discipline their kids, should we bring back the cane in schools?
No, I don't think we should bring back the cane. No, I remember my brother, my two older brothers had the cane. They were just about old enough. I think it was abolished in about 1985.
I got it. Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, I had it. Yeah.
Does it
my brother got three. My brother got three across his backside. I thought he was
they get you right at the top. Yeah. It's nice. And now I just do it on the weekends.
Oh, lads.
No, listen, we talk about levelling up quite a lot, right? That's why levelling up is important. We shouldn't just pay lip service to it, and government should just talk about it, because if you create employment opportunities and improve the prospects of people in those areas, so many of these problems go away.
Yeah.
Give them some hope, give them something to cling to, give them some purpose in their life, some structure.
Yeah, but Aidan, look, back when we were kids, and I'm a lot older than both of you guys probably put together.
You don't look it. Someone has to say it. Come on.
But look, we didn't have PlayStations. We didn't have any of that malarkey. We had to go out and muck about in the woods, or you know, just try and find entertainment for ourselves.
What are you up to in the woods?
That's another story. But long and the short of it, no one. I hate this fallback position where it's like, let's build community centres, let's do this, let's do that.
That's not what I'm talking about.
And spoon feed these kids. No, I'm not saying you are, buddy. I'm just saying that, you know, these kids are, you know, they're getting it all on a plate.
All right, OK, all right, well, we're just going to move on now, because this story, I think, has maybe escaped a lot of people's psyche so far this week, so we thought we'd bring it directly into your attention. It's a remarkable story about the man in the United States who's fathered 51 children, and he's got another 14 on the way. Kyle Gordy is a sperm donor who's helped dozens of women fulfil their dream of having a kid. And I'm delighted to say that Kyle joins me now, all the way from New Mexico. Kyle, I suppose congratulations are in order.
Yes, I actually just donated right now. I have the people I just donated to, they're laying out on the bed right next to me. So just got done doing a donation, then hopped on here to talk to you guys.
I hope you washed your hands. OK, so why do you donate so much?
Well, you know, a lot of times, you know, people go to sperm banks and you don't really get to know where the sperm is coming from. And a lot of people I donate to, they like it that they get to know me. They know where the sperm is coming from. Also, the benefit is I'm completely free. So instead of spending $5,000, $10,000 at a sperm bank, I can donate for free, and you have the option of the child meeting me at any point in time, because children, donor-conceived children, do like knowing the biological father. They do want the option of meeting the father.
So just hang on a minute. So is this all above board then? So how did women get in touch with you?
Well, usually people contact me on my Instagram, Kyle Gordy1234, and also I have my TikTok, Kyle Gordy123, and my Twitter, Kyle Gordy11 on my shirt.
This is remarkable. Why do they come to you apart from the ravishing good looks?
Well, you know, I'm very well educated. Everyone in my family is very well educated. I eat very healthy. I eat a mostly organic, pescatarian diet. I take 20 supplements a day. I know what I'm talking about. Like, I know how to get you pregnant. My sperm count is 242 million per milliliter, which is 6 times the average per milliliter.
So how do you... Yeah, OK, fine. And so do you get to know the kids? Because if I was you, I'd be really worried that one day someone might change the law and you're going to have to pay for, like, 100 kids. God, you think of Christmas...
That's a great question. Yes, I've met 10 of my children, and a lot more of the moms do want me to meet the children. Obviously, there is a risk of child support. The moms can come after me for child support, but that's why I screen them, make sure they're financially stable, make sure we connect. It's really about a connection and how well I feel about them. Like, my last pregnancy was actually a couple right near, I think they're an hour east of London. I just found out a week ago they got pregnant. They were hour east from London, drove to me. I was next to Heathrow Airport, and I donated, and they got pregnant. So currently, I have 7 kids. If you count the pregnancies, I have 3 kids in the UK and another 4 on the way in the UK.
Do you have a girlfriend?
No girlfriend. Unfortunately, when you're out helping a lot of people, it's hard for them to accept what I do. But I'm always open to a relationship. There is a special someone that, you know, would accept me for what I do, I would be okay with it. I would see what happens.
Are there any drawbacks? I mean, do you make a lot of money out of this?
No, I make nothing. I actually lose money because all the travel costs I spend, I'm losing a fortune. I estimate in supplements and food, changing my diet, travel costs, Ubers, I probably lost around over $30,000, which is around 24,000 pounds. I've lost over that from doing this.
What? Okay. Do you get paid for it at all?
No, a couple times within the United States, I've had a few people fly me out, but usually it's usually very boring places. Like, someone flew me to the Virgin Islands, right? They got booked a trip, the hotel, but it was places I don't really want to go. Like, now I just cover, you know, if I go to say, Japan or Asia or whatever, like, I cover my own travel, which I'm planning on going to Asia next year. So I'm going to cover my own travel there and everywhere else. Like, when I go to Europe, I cover my 100%. But within the United States, some people offer to cover some of my travel. But usually if I want to go somewhere I want to go, I cover my own travel. And it's almost every place I go now.
Kyle, I really appreciate you coming on the show. And I just wanted to say, Kyle, so you did just say, though, that you just donated a sample. Is that right? So I don't understand how I get the logistics of how this works, but in terms of, is there just what's happened? Like...
Well, pretty much, they gave me a cup. They're right next to me right now, chilling in the bed.
They're next to you. All right, that's enough. Thank you very much, Kyle. Cheers for that. No, all right, Kyle. Cheers. Thank you very much. And you're joining me all the way from New Mexico. That is, of course, a family show, so I dread to think what's going on there. But anyway, after the break, I will tell you about the 30 women who went out to Blackpool and had a big night out. And there's a story of the pub in North Wales where fun is banned. Yes, it's almost time to have a rummage around your parts. I'll see you in 2 minutes.
We are GB News.
And we'd like to say thank you
to each and every one of you
for helping our great nation
find its voice.
We're absolutely everywhere.
Across England, Scotland,
Wales and Northern Ireland.
On TV,
on radio and online.
We're proud to be
the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
On the Mark Steyn Show, we cover the stories a lot of people are scared even to mention. The stuff that really matters with some of the world's biggest thinkers.
Now is his opportunity to kind of take the steering wheel of history.
Break away from the flock at 8 o'clock on GB News with the Mark Steyn Show.
Hello, I'm Esther McVeigh.
And I'm Philip Davis.
Whether you're watching or listening on TV, online or on radio, we handpick the latest stories, debates and expert opinions for your weekend. So whether that's politics, news or showbiz, we've got it covered.
Join us every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock on GB News.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch.
You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh, my goodness me. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
Right, welcome back to Friday Night Feast. Now it's time for Round Your Parts, where we dig deep to find some of the absolute gems of local news. So, no swearing, no music, no mobile phones allowed inside, and no children at all. Now, it sounds like Jacob Rees-Mogg's stag do, doesn't it? But I am actually describing, believe it or not, a pub. The Sir Gawain and the Green Knight in Connors Quay is up for rent, and the pub comes with accommodation, a £20,000 salary and all utility bills paid for, but the puritanical rules that the brewery have put in place have put any potential tenants off. I'm not surprised. I mean, that sounds about as much fun as a night out with you, Aidan. Aidan McGee joins me now, and alongside Will Geddes as well. Aidan, I mean, that's not a pub, is it?
No, it's not, but I mean, I don't know. I remember when Wetherspoons first opened. I was in Maidstone in...
Don't you go knocking the spoons?
No, knocking the spoons.
Knocking the spoons.
I remember the whole concept. I think it was there in November '95, if memory serves me correctly. It was at the Muggleton Inn in Maidstone, a former library.
Yeah.
And it was the first time I'd been in a pub. I was still at school at this point. First time I've been in a pub where there was no music. Never known anything like it before in my life. Well, I say that, I didn't know anything like it. This was the first time I've been in a pub.
Right. OK.
But without music, you know, and they still... And it's endured. You know, they still... Wetherspoons still don't have music. Everyone said it wouldn't catch on.
Yeah, and everyone loves it. But, I mean, you've got to... I mean, seriously, the whole point of a pub is to get together, chill out, have fun, have a laugh. I mean, what's the point otherwise? I mean, or you sit in the corner, get drunk and fight.
Yeah, but what I cannot
know a few pubs like that.
What I cannot stand, I don't know about anyone watching or listening to this now, if whether or not you can stand this, which is when parents turn up, right, and they're obviously at their wits' end with their kids, their little brats, and they sit there getting steadily merry on the old vino, and their kids are playing hide-and-seek under your table, and they're running around. Feral.
Well,
that winds me up no end. If you're going to bring your kids to a restaurant, entertain them yourself or look after them.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
I had a problem with that. I worked in a brewer's fair back in 2000, 2001, and I started off in the kitchen, graduated to the bar, and I couldn't work out all these people used to come along and use the climbing frames for their kids, but while they got drunk.
Yeah.
And one woman came in at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon ordering a margarita.
Yeah.
And I said, we don't serve food till 6 o'clock. I thought she meant the pizza.
Oh, right. She's got a massive problem. There we go. Right, we're staying in Wales now for our next story, and it's a woman accused of drink driving who had a really original excuse. She claimed that it was actually her dog who was behind the wheel. So Melissa Jenkins Johannesson was seen driving down the footpath in Fishguard. When police visited her home, she said her friend had driven the car, and unbelievably that her dog Lily had also driven the vehicle. So she was sentenced to 12 months in prison, suspended for 18 months, and was also disqualified from driving for 3 years. Aidan, I mean, blaming her dog is an interesting defence. Perhaps she should have said no comment.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I was actually in court, when was that? About 12 years ago, on a totting up ban. And I actually argued that I spent more... because I spent more time on the motorway, I was doing 60,000 miles a year. Anyone care to guess what the average UK motorist does in the course of a year?
12,000.
Absolutely spot on,
Wow.
12,000.
Thank you very much.
So I argued to the court that, and I was defending myself, and I really needed to avoid this 1 year ban. And I argued that I said that I spend 5 times more time on the motorway than the average UK motorist. Therefore, I'm more likely on a balance of probability to pick up points. And they accepted that. They gave me a couple of points back. I was under the threshold. I was able to drive it. It changed my life.
Really?
You see, I used to drive with my dog. I used to have this West Highland Terrier called Muppet. And I used to drive... And literally, Muppet would insist on sitting on my lap. It's probably not very safe, with his paws on the steering wheel.
Where were you the other night in Fishguard, right? When this poor woman...
Been laughed out of court.
I mean, allegedly.
Allegedly. Right, well, let's head to Oxford now, where a man parked his car before going out, and then he got so drunk that he forgot where he actually left it.
Haven't we all done that?
No. The car is a Volkswagen Golf, is described as bluey purple, so basically should be quite easily found. The owner left the car at 6 p.m. last Friday, but according to the Oxford Mail, he doesn't know where it is. So this car is still missing, OK? And there's an appeal. There's a missing car. But, Will, you know, I suppose, what's the worst thing that you've ever done while you've been drunk? It's a family show.
OK, can we move to Aidan on that one?
Yeah, well, maybe
no,
not.
You may go back to Will. No.
Yeah. Well, finally...
Back to Patrick.
Well, I definitely can't tell you that. Finally, we now head to Thornaby, which is near Middlesbrough, where a mum has accused a school of giving her son a sad slice of cardboard pizza. So the mum called the meal, which cost her £1.60. To be honest with you, love, if you're buying a pizza for £1.65, right, I think you get what you're given. But she called it a monstrosity. She also criticised Thornaby Academy for making her spend £100 on 3 pairs of shoes for her daughter who suffers from a musculoskeletal condition.
There's nothing wrong with the dough, is there? I mean, the dough is
for our radio,
that's pretty
radio
revolting,
right, what that is a slice
of
topping. It's a topping.
Well, it's a slice of bread. Well, basically, it's a really bad pizza. So it's a slice of bread with a slab of cheese on it and a bit of pepperoni. I mean, I've eaten much worse than that.
Yeah, I've eaten a lot worse. Actually, let's go back to the worst thing I've done when I've been drunk.
OK.
Yeah, probably some sort of average food from Leicester Square.
Yeah,
which
like that.
I think you and I were talking about this
We
earlier.
were, yeah,
It's
I've had my fair share of
a slice of pizza that's been there probably for 3 months, reheated constantly, and then suffered the worst kind of gut rot after.
But isn't it amazing how, when you are drunk or hungover, food that would otherwise be completely offensive to you all of a sudden seems like the most appealing?
Like kebabs.
Like kebabs?
Yeah,
like
kebabs.
mystery meat kebabs. What's in that? I mean,
You love a mystery meat.
Yeah, I love a mystery meat kebab.
Yeah,
I mean, I used to go to school near the Curry Mile, and one of those restaurants genuinely got done for serving cat curry.
I remember the all-day breakfast that really had been there all day.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Right, well, that was Round Your Parts. We do love getting basically involved into the local gems of local news, and so make sure that you do get in touch with us on those, because you can send them in, all right? So whenever you're there and you're in your local area and you're reading your local paper or online or whatever, and you think that's one for Round Your Parts, get in touch, gbviews at gbnews.uk. But it's time now for Patrick's Hat Trick, when I show 3 videos that have caught my eye in the last 7 days, viral videos that I think need to be dragged kicking and screaming into your psyche. The first one is actually from, well, just over a week ago, so we're cheating a bit here, but it is so good that we simply have to show it. And it's a news report in Oklahoma where a truck crashed and spilt a load of sex toys across the highway. Check it out.
Brilliant.
There's a lot of stuff to clean up, so this Turnpike Spur and Mustang on-ramp here at I-40 will probably be closed for quite some time. Jim Garpoint live from Bob Mills, Sky News 9, back to you.
Jim, can you tell what he's carrying there? What's all over the road? All right, that's
It's a mess for
yeah,
sure.
That's the latest. I-40 eastbound.
Well,
Looks like some...
we're zooming in. Not really. Maybe you
Some
can
type of
tell.
parcel.
I can't tell.
I mean, the thing is, like, we've all crashed a car or something like that, but can you imagine if that just came... I mean, that would be horrendous.
It's the lorry. We're literally shedding its load.
Yes, OK, there we go.
Very good, sir. Very good.
Moving on. Now, we all make mistakes, but imagine making a speech in Parliament where you praise Vladimir Putin. Now, I am a fan of Boris Johnson. I don't like to show the guy up. He's done stellar work in Ukraine, but he did make a mistake here.
Thanks also, of course, to the inspirational leadership of Vladimir Putin, the inspirational leadership of Volodymyr Zelensky. Forgive me.
Oh, it's a Freudian slip, isn't it? It's a Freudian slip. Have you ever done anything like that?
I've done plenty of those. Seriously, I've had, terminal sort of foot-in-mouth-itis on many occasions, but I'm not going to confess to anything on national TV.
No, fair enough. Very wise, very wise.
Aidan, on the other man.
I did Millwall Football Club's end-of-season awards in May, so fairly recently, May the 5th, I think it was, and there was a video link from the chairman in America, and he was talking away, and I said that was, and I named the previous chairman who he had a dispute in court with.
Actually, I do have one. I do have one. It was an A-list Hollywood celebrity. I was very tired. I was working on a task for them, and I was sending the message back to my missus back home and said, "Night, night, princess, sleep well." And then the message comes back, and goes, Will, I don't think that message was meant for me.
Oh, no, that's an absolute...
So I replied by going, sleep well anyway.
Exactly. Right, finally, talk about having a bad experience. OK, you'll see why I made that terrible joke in a second. A woman got more than she bargained for when she decided to go for a run. So, basically, there was a woman jogging through the woods, and behind her is a herd of sheep. OK, a flock. I wondered what it was. I nearly said yes. OK, so it's a flock of sheep. So she stops, right, and she starts chatting to someone who's walking the other way. She carries on jogging, and they follow her again.
Brilliant.
It's like Babe, isn't it, the film? It's incredible, actually. But she became something of this accidental shepherdess and a Pied Piper. If you're listening on GB News Radio, it is a flock of no less than 100 sheep. But it's happening in central France, and yes, there we go. Not a great day out, I suppose. I do wonder whether or not she had to actually run back. But, Aidan, have you ever been chased by a flock of ladies?
Oh, yes, I bet he has.
No, I haven't.
Not for at least a day.
Yeah. Not in the last 30 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, there's some outside, actually.
Yeah.
They were going to form a queue.
Clawing at the door.
Yeah, Philip Schofield was at the front of that as well. We'll meet this week's national treasure, and it's what you've all been waiting for. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's Dog of the Week.
Yay.
Yes, don't you dare go away.
We are GB News.
And we'd like to say thank you
To each and every one of you.
For helping our great nation.
Find its voice.
We're absolutely everywhere.
Across England, Scotland,
Wales and Northern Ireland.
On TV.
on radio and online.
We're proud to be
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
On the Mark Steyn Show, we cover the stories a lot of people are scared even to mention. The stuff that really matters with some of the world's biggest thinkers.
Now is his opportunity to kind of take the steering wheel of history.
Break away from the flock at 8 o'clock on GB News with the Mark Steyn Show.
Hello, I'm Esther McVeigh.
And I'm Philip Davis.
Whether you're watching or listening on TV, online or on radio, we handpick the latest stories, debates and expert opinions for your weekend. So whether that's politics, news or showbiz, we've got it covered.
Join us every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock on GB News.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch.
You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh my goodness me! And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
Welcome back, everybody, to Friday Night Feast. Now it's time for Christys' courtroom. So I am the judge, Patrick Christys, and I'm ready to dispense justice in my own unique manner. What we do here is we put several people in the dock who we think made prats of themselves over the course of a week, and we decide whether or not they're guilty or they're not of basically being a prat. Now, we normally decide to do this with both of our studio guests, but one of them has decided to leave. So I've got Aidan McGee here, who I believe we can maybe just show, yeah? And we've got Will Geddes here, who's gone to the loo and left his personality behind.
He left behind a great light.
Yes, so we'll just crack on, shall we? I believe Will's here somewhere. Anyway, right, so in the dock this week is everyone's favourite controversial, thank you, Will. Everyone's favourite controversial TV presenters, yes, it's Holly Willoughby and Philip Schofield. So, do we think that they are really guilty or not guilty of being pillocks this week? As we mentioned earlier this show, the presenters of This Morning are under pressure after they were accused of dodging the queue to see the Queen's coffin. Now, Holly and Phil say they were in a professional capacity, but I'm asking tonight, were Holly and Philip guilty of queue jumping? Will Geddes, were Holly and Phil guilty of queue jumping?
Not guilty. Not guilty.
How can you say they're not guilty of queue jumping?
Not guilty. They're VIPs.
Did they queue up?
Probably to then queue jump. Yes.
They queued before the queue. They've got them up on a technicality, a bit like your
Yeah.
driving ban, Adrian.
So they did, in theory, queue.
So they, in theory, queued a bit. So do you think they're guilty or not guilty of queue jumping?
I think that, well, they're guilty of queue jumping, but that's a very loose charge, actually, because they're being accused of something completely different. I think the lying is what's got them into a problem here. In fact, no, I'd say the reverse. I'd say that the charge is probably a little bit too narrow. If you would broaden it out and say lying after committing a crime, to cover it up, covering the tracks, fleeing the scene of an accident, possibly.
Fleeing the scene of an accident.
And for more legal advice,
well, yeah.
I'm not going not guilty because I just don't think people should be hounding out their job.
I mean, seriously,
yeah.
So what?
I'll tell you what they might be guilty of. They might be guilty of completely misreading the public mood. And when their job on their particular show, so the show that they do, is all about being in people's front rooms with them, being a man and a woman of the people, and being like almost a member of the family. And then when they kind of walk past the queue, I think they got the optics wrong.
Yeah, no, I tell you where I think they got it wrong, and I'm sure Mark would have come up, with something similar, was all they had to do was literally turn around and say, yeah, we had an opportunity to dive in, we had a busy day.
Yeah.
Anybody given an opportunity to jump the queue would jump the queue. If I'd been given an opportunity, I don't have the time to queue for 13 hours. I would have loved to have done it, but I didn't have the time.
Pay your respect.
I mean, I even have my question marks about David Beckham. How many pictures are there that have been taken by members of the general public of him in the queue?
That's a good point. It's a good point because he's probably one of the most photographed people in the world.
Exactly, and he's standing there in his very dapper suit.
If they'd apologised,
and his Peaky Blinders hat,
If they'd apologised, by the way, I think... But no one will be talking about that now.
Well, I think they could have easily said what you've said, Will, which I think would have been fine, which was like, look, we're incredibly busy. We understand the vast majority of the public would have had to have queued for this. We did initially get in because of some kind of accident. I mean, look, if I'm being honest, I know people who, especially who are like maybe political correspondents, people like that, who could get a pass and go... But it wasn't just the standing on... That's the thing that got them, I think. If they'd have just stood on the viewing gallery at the side, then that would have been OK. But it's when they walked past, and she had her mask on, so it already looks like a cover-up. And then Phil's there looking...
I mean, who wears a mask now, apart from watch robbers?
I mean, you don't want to be seen.
You see a few on the tube, don't you?
Yeah, and then why don't you want to be seen? So next up in Christys' courtroom is a man. Well, that was slide. A man who has set fire to himself. OK, you heard this right. A man who set fire to himself just before Roger Federer's last ever professional tennis match. I don't know if you've all seen this, because this story, I think, should have been, well, probably would have been a lot bigger if Kwasi Kwarteng hadn't got his massive budget out, but there we go. It's a warning. What you're about to show you is a photo that you may find a bit disturbing, but given the content of this show so far, I think that ship has sailed. The incident happened at the O2 in London, where a climate activist set fire to his right arm. Why not? OK, so there's a picture there. Well, it's not that disturbing. The picture doesn't show his arm on fire. Does it? No.
Where's the fire?
Well,
what we can... So
it's like he's roasting marshmallows.
We're now going to ask you to use your imagination, which is basically, do you see that bit of fire that's there near him? Imagine it now on his arm. That's what happened. So he was protesting the use of private jets in the UK.
Clown.
Which is, I mean, it's nuts, isn't it? Remember that guy who interrupted the boat race to campaign against elitism? That was it. He was just swimming in the Thames. Brilliant. But anyway, this guy was eventually dragged away by security. The man is part of a group called End UK Private Jets.
Because he's never been on one.
Yes, but you have.
Yeah, a few times.
I've been on one.
Yeah. And you know what? It's the only way to fly, Patrick.
It's the only way to fly.
It's the only way to fly.
Can I just say something? Now, I was supposed to be going on just a little one, right? Just a little one. All right, Pete, man of the people. I know, man of the people. Just a little one. A sunset flight over London. It was for a present.
Nice.
Someone I care deeply about. And
They calling me?
They cancelled it.
I didn't get a call.
Well, this was the night before, right? The night before, and they cancelled it because the Queen died.
Yeah, because of the restriction of no-fly zone. That's why.
Right.
Yeah.
But I just thought, why though? Why? I don't understand. Why is there a no-fly zone?
because basically of any kind of drones or any potential attacks could be launched from the air.
I thought you meant
That's
insects.
not-
I thought you meant insects.
She wasn't in London.
I'm sorry, Patrick. You're very, very important, but I'm afraid you can't breach a
I'm just saying, I don't want to do... I mean, to be fair, though, can you imagine that? We've just been slating Holly and Phil, and then a picture
It's
emerges
slightly
of me
different.
on a
Slightly
private
different.
jet over London, right? Just flagrantly ignoring the no-fly zone.
Phil and Holly were wearing Patrick Christie masks.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
it.
Yeah,
You wait next week.
That's how
it.
they get me a petition
Yeah,
with 69,000 people on it to get me removed from the TV. But there we go. Now, of course, we support the right to protest, but setting yourself on fire like this chap did at the tennis, OK, is a little bit of a stupid thing to do. I'm glad that someone extinguished him, though, but the fine... Oh, well, we need to decide whether or not we think he's guilty of being a pillock or not.
Yeah, guilty. I'll tell you why. He probably distorted the surface of the ground. That's normally made of plexipave and it melts in fire. So normally in tennis, you need a completely smooth and true surface. I'm not sure Roger Federer's match is legitimate if he does.
Oh, really?
A completely
So he's going to have to play again?
Well, possibly, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've not heard it discussed. It's only you've only heard that here.
What do you think? Is this just the latest bit of eco-quackery?
Well, yeah, you see, I can't give you as scientific an answer as Aidan give, but I can vouch for the fact that clowns can be flammable. And I think this guy fits that bill.
OK, good. OK, so far we've decided in Christie's courtroom that Holly and Phil... But I know... These two think they're not guilty of queue jumping. This guy is guilty of being an eco-pillock, OK?
Yeah.
So we're going to go now for the final defendants in this week's Christie's courtroom. This week is a trans teacher in Canada who started turning up to classes wearing giant prosthetic breasts. So education authorities have confirmed there have been protests and complaints. I'm not surprised, but they say they're standing by the teacher. So should this person be allowed to teach kids while dressed like that? Guilty or not guilty of offending children? Aidan McGee.
He certainly needs more support.
He does need more support, yeah. That's a good one. I mean,
yeah, he's guilty.
Guilty, guilty.
I don't know. I was kind of in the balance on this one because I think...
Why is that, then, Will?
I'm in the balance mainly because I think they serve two purposes.
Right.
There is
Well,
an
both of them.
educational purpose, obviously, in delivering the curriculum, whatever they do, but also they could serve as a bouncy castle for the children.
Yeah, so when they have, like, a fete, so like a fundraising fete. OK, well, there we go. So we've got... So you're going guilty of should not be teaching kids?
Yeah, I
right,
agree.
OK, fair enough. All right, well, there we go. That's it for Christie's courtroom for this week, but it's time now for one of your favourites at home, and that's this week's National Treasure. So if you're thinking about getting fit, for example, then this story should inspire you to do just that. 76-year-old livestock farmer Mervyn Mullard, a fantastic name, by the way, did the Great North Run alongside his niece, Lindsay. So he swapped his wellies for a pair of trainers as he ran more than 13 miles to raise money for the Royal Agricultural Benevolent Institution. And I am delighted to say that this week's National Treasure, Mervyn, joins me right now. Mervyn, hey, well, a National Treasure. Always get a round of applause on this show. Fantastic stuff. You are this week's National Treasure, Mervyn. So you're 76 years old. You ran the Great North Run. How does it feel?
It was quite interesting, actually. I enjoyed the run. Didn't do it as fast as I'd have liked to have done, but that's life, isn't it?
OK, so as a 76-year-old man, you must be completely fighting fit to be able to do this. 13 miles, Mervyn.
Yeah, well, I've done a couple of marathons in the past, but not for a year or two.
And you raised a bit of money for, what was the particular cause? Was it, again, the Royal Agricultural Benevolent Institution? Why did you choose that cause?
Well, I've been doing this, I've been running for the last 12 years, probably, doing something for them, and I also do a quiz in the spring for them. It's to support farmers or farm workers who come into difficulty either through ill health or accidents, and just recently with the difficulties we're all in, there's quite a bit of mental health issues as well. So it's good to support them. I've been lucky in my life.
Can I just say, Mervyn, just on this one, I think this is an absolutely stellar cause because our farmers in this country have been downtrodden now for such a long time. They literally feed our nation, and I think we could be getting a lot more out of farmers as well. There's a huge amount of red tape, and it makes it hugely expensive to be a farmer. And as you said, it must be damaging to their mental health, and they do a very, very manual job as well. Why do you think that we don't treat the farming community well enough?
We all want cheap food, which is a good thing, but it'd be much better for us if you got most of it from this country rather than import it from abroad. That's my opinion. Obviously, other people will disagree.
Yeah, but they're idiots, Mervyn, so we're with you on this one, OK? Well, you think we should buy British, support British farmers? Is that the message?
That is my message, yes, as far as possible. Obviously, we don't grow oranges, so, you know, there are some things we can't grow, but that we can. I think it would be good if you'd support us.
Well, you say that, Mervyn. With a little bit of global warming, we'll have oranges coming out of our ears, mate. But just to ask, what time did you do the run in?
It took me 2 hours, 43 minutes, which I was rather disappointed in.
You're disappointed by that,
that's a good time.
Yeah, very much so, yes. Yeah.
Why?
I'm
That's
getting too
incredible
old, I think, is the problem. Yeah.
Well, we are, with respect, Mervyn, you are 76 years old. I think you've done an absolutely cracking job. Yeah. The other night, decided to sign up for a marathon in Windsor, and that's happening in about 10 days' time.
Right.
So,
well done.
What time, Mervyn, do you think I should run a marathon in? I'm 30 years old and, well, I chain smoke.
Well, I think you'll struggle a little bit if you haven't been training up till now.
I've absolutely not been training.
So who knows? It'll be interesting to see. I wish you luck if you're going to do it, and I hope you get to the end.
So do I. Mervyn, can I just say thank you so much? Oh, can people still donate? Can people still donate to you?
They can, yes. Yes.
How?
Well, if you go to Mervyn Mullard on Just Giving, you'll find me, I think, and it'd be great if you'd support. Lovely.
Good man, I'm sure people will. Mervyn, thank you very, very much. National treasure. Well done. Yes. I think it's lovely to see that, Aidan. I think farmers don't get enough praise in this country, and it's nice to see someone standing up for British farmers.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually old enough to have eaten a marathon before they became Snickers. Remember, 1994, I think it was.
I was just wondering, Will, you are Will Geddes here, a security expert, because I'm now
A marathon runner.
So, well, do you run marathons?
I have run a number of marathons and a number of ultra-marathons.
Oh, what's an ultra-marathon?
Ultra-marathon. So the one that I've done twice is one called the Marathon des Sables, which is 153 miles across the North Sahara Desert, self-sufficient.
Good grief.
So if you want some tips for Windsor, let me know.
Well, I do.
And I think you and I should do New York next year.
OK.
New York Marathon.
Oh, OK. Well, just you had me in New York. Oh, God, it's happening.
OK.
All right.
OK, witness New York Marathon next year. We'll raise for charity.
Good.
Let's find a decent charity
Should we
to raise
take my private jet there?
No, we'll take mine.
We'll take yours. OK, good stuff. But seriously, when you say self-sufficient, does this mean...
Yeah, what does that mean?
That's carrying all your food, all your supplies, everything apart from your water.
Right.
So if you look up Marathon des Sables...
So the water,
in Morocco, gets to 150 degrees Fahrenheit. Wow. It's super hot.
Why do you do that? For fun?
Yeah.
But that's weird.
I know, I am weird. You know that. That's why you invite me on.
Would you ever run a marathon?
No, probably not.
What's a good
I've done New York 6 times, so you should... And I've done London. I would say if you come in sub 5 hours, that's respectable.
OK, under 5 hours.
How much training have you done?
None.
So, sub 7 hours
OK.
is respectable.
All right, fine.
Just look, get all the way round, don't stop running, keep going, because if you stop running, your legs will seize up. OK, good stuff. For anyone wondering why we spent so long talking about marathons there, that's because Dog of the Week very nearly couldn't get through to us. But we now do have Dog of the Week, that's right. And tonight, I am asking if one of you lot can find it in your hearts to give Georgia her forever home.
What's our record like on this, by the way, Patrick?
Georgia's gorgeous.
Georgia is 7 years old and is a crossbreed.
Oh.
She is in a foster home in Salisbury in Wiltshire, which is a lovely part of the world, but she does need a forever home. And she's been there since May 2021. So viewers on GB News can see that she's an absolute beauty. Look at that. Well, to find more out about Georgia, I'm joined now by Hannah Carter, who's the owner and director of Paws and Whiskers in Sussex. Thank you very, very much for joining us. Great to have you on the show. This is one of my favourite bits. It's Dog of the Week. Tell us about Georgia.
Georgia is a lovely, gentle, calm dog. Who's just really struggled to find her home, and we're not really sure why, because she's so lovely.
So, how old is Georgia, did you say? Sorry, I missed that. How old is she?
She was a stray in Romania, so we're not exactly sure of her age, but our best guess is about 7.
7 years old, but she looks quite young, doesn't she? So what's her temperament like then? Is she quite playful?
She can be. It took her a long time in foster to actually start playing. She's a very timid girl. She's very scared of strangers and new situations. But now she will rip up stuffed teddies and she'll zoom around the garden like lightning. She absolutely loves it.
All right, now the most important question that I always ask every single week on Dog of the Week, is she good on a walk?
No. Reason for that is she is currently too scared to actually wear a lead, so she's never been for a walk.
Okay,
So,
all right, but you think maybe could be taught to be good on a walk?
absolutely, yeah. With the right home, a bit of patience, a bit of love, she's an absolute dream dog.
And we think that maybe what kind of home might be best for Georgia then? Someone, because not with little kids maybe running around all over the place, just somewhere nice and quiet.
Yeah, she can live with children. She takes a really healthy interest in children, but like you say, not children that are maybe bouncing off the walls, children that are quite calm and quiet.
Well, this is the thing, because this makes up for Georgia not necessarily being great on a walk, because every single week here on Dog of the Week, they always say, we don't want them living with kids. We don't want them living with kids. So Georgia ticks that particular box. And these days, so if you've got a big enough garden, for example, you don't need to necessarily take her out on a walk. How can people get in touch with you and give Georgia a forever home?
So people can go to our website, which is www.paws-rescue.org, or you can find us on Facebook or Instagram at Paws and Whiskers Sussex Dog and Cat Rescue.
Look, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. And, I mean, Georgia hopefully does get a forever home. And we have actually, I know that I do like to joke about things on the show, but we've actually had a lot of recent success. We have with Dog of the Week. We've had a couple. So Georgia would be our 3rd dog rehomed as a result of Dog of the Week here. So we are hoping, fingers crossed. Make sure you stay in touch and let us know how it goes. Thank you so much. Just that link again one more time. How can people get in touch with you?
So our website is paws-rescue.org.
Fantastic. Good luck, OK? Make sure you stay in touch as and when Georgia gets a forever home. I must say, I think that Georgia was a lovely, lovely dog. Will Geddes joins me here now. It's always a heart-in-mouth moment when you ask whether or not they're good on a walk. And
who, me?
No, Georgia. Georgia, unfortunately, wasn't.
Yeah. No, but you know what? I think if someone's got a garden or they've got a field out in the back, why not? Let the little fella, sort of get...
100%. You can train good habits into a dog, you also train bad habits out of them. She's probably had a difficult life, that's the problem.
Well, she has, absolutely, yes.
Yeah, I love a rescue, and I think everybody should always choose a rescue over...
Yeah,
I agree. I agree.
£5,000 for one of these fancy ones that you can get
Well,
from
and
a farm,
also, if you get a pure breed, a lot of the time they can't get up the stairs after they're 2 years old.
Yeah.
You better go in and get in a mongrel from...
Is that right?
Well, exactly.
What's
Well, a load of them have got, like, genetic hip conditions or heart conditions.
Or they've been overbred for whatever reason. I think a rescue, they're there, they want a loving home, they want a family. I mean, I appreciate that some of them have come from very troubled backgrounds and probably require a lot of help, but hey, you're not buying the dog just for fun.
Well, one of the challenge Christys that we have got lined up is a dog agility course with a load of the rescue dogs that we tried to rehome. So we're hoping to do a kind of live advert for that. But lots of you back at home have been getting in touch about what we've been talking about so far in this show. And James wrote in about the violence in Leicester that we've seen this week. Yes, I started up on this particular show talking about the, unrest, really, that's been taking place in the Midlands. And he says, as an ex-Leicestershire cop, the unrest comes as no surprise. Well, I wonder why. This is post-person Pat, by the way, just the right side of copyright law, so you can back off, everybody. But yes, I think this has been an absolute shocker, hasn't it? It's taken place and been rearing its head for far too long, just bubbling under the surface. And Will, you would know, Will Geddes, our security expert. Yeah. I'm concerned that this inter-community violence has been bubbling under the surface for a little while.
Yeah, it has been for a while, but I mean, it's nothing new. You get this when you get particular opposing communities that either have religious beliefs or cultural, differences. You will get clashes which will happen, whether it be on the cricket field, whether it be in the street, whether it be in the neighbourhood. you know, these things happen. So it's about trying. It goes back to your point right at the very beginning of the programme tonight about basically meshing. It's about meshing. It's about understanding that we're here in a multicultural society. We have to mesh. If we don't mesh, we just have pockets of different communities, and it's never going to be good.
And it's tricky because at some point you don't want to have to do it, but you might have to try to like enforce a bit more integration. I mean, it's tricky, but I am sick and tired. I used to do a bit of community work, charity, at a local primary
So that wasn't
school.
a part of a sentence.
At a primary school, right, where I would teach kids to read, and there were kids there who had been born here and their parents had been born here, but they had a very poor reading age because they never ever spoke English at home. And I just thought, you know, just for the kids' sake, they should have a better reading age.
I took some inner city kids out as sort of outward bounding with a mate of mine many years ago in Wales. Well, taking them out into the hills, teaching them how to abseil, do sort of fieldcraft, that sort of thing. And these kids literally had never seen a blade of grass, and they loved it. And we put them back on the coach at the end of the weekend. I mean, we absolutely thrashed them. Brilliant. You know, ran them up and down the hills. Did it all, not what you're thinking, but we ran up and down the hills. They were exhausted, but they so enjoyed it. And I got the sweetest letters afterwards saying, you know, thank you. And it just sort of expanded their horizons. And
yes, indeed. All right, well, loads more of you have been getting in touch on this particular topic as well. This was about the issues that we've seen in Leicester and then in Smethwick in Birmingham. And I believe Jill, I think, got in touch as well to say, Patrick, as always, you are completely spot on. Thank you very much, Jill. That will do for me. Right, so our debate earlier was about the mini budget and whether the rich pay enough tax, OK? So Dave said, great show as always. Dave, great. Keep them coming, people. Keep them coming.
Come on, Dave.
The rich do pay enough tax. The rich companies are the ones who should be paying. Oh, OK, I see what you mean, right? So us on low wages are still stuck. So I think what Dave is saying there is that rich people pay enough tax, but rich companies maybe
I'm with them.
don't. OK, all right. Now, we've gone double Dave because David has had this to say about the budget. There was absolutely nothing in this budget for pensioners and those on low incomes to help with the cost of living crisis. Nothing at all. On my pension, I should be just over £1 a week better off. David, can I just say to you, in fact, you know what? You've inspired me to do a topic next week when I do my usual show, GB News Live, 3 till 6, cheeky little plug, where actually the plight of pensioners in this country, for far too long, pensioners have been given a raw deal, whether it's to do with them having to pay a TV licence, for example, just to get a bit of company in their own homes, whether it's the energy that they use. And people go, oh, well, you know, they've got these, they're sitting on houses, they shouldn't have property. Well, they might have to pay for a care home, for example, in future. And
exactly.
The elderly get a raw deal, I think.
Well, you know, just because you're sitting on a value of a property, well, they might have paid a fraction of that when they bought it maybe 30 or 40 years ago. Doesn't mean you necessarily... I mean, is it really fair to expect a pensioner just to downsize their property, move somewhere else? It's not as easy as that. I found out with my father.
Yeah, and I think pensioners over the age of 65 shouldn't have to pay for a TV licence.
No.
End of.
I agree.
Simple as that.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, we've hardly had time to come up for air during this show. 2 hours has absolutely flown by. It's nearly time for me to go home. Has anyone got a taxi for Christys?
Taxi for Christys.
Just before I leave you, this was the week where something bang out of order happened on Countdown. Yes, there we go. And there were shocking scenes in the Premier League as it emerged that Leicester manager Brendan Rodgers had shrunk. There we go. And after they were accused of queue jumping to see the Queen's coffin, Phil and Holly worked on their strategy for next Saturday's trip to Alton Towers. Oh, there we go. Right, that's all I've got time for. Thank you very much to Ada McGee, who's joined me throughout. Will Geddes, who's joined me throughout as well. Fan favourites here. But remember, I want to hear from you. If you've got an idea for Challenge Christys, get in touch with me directly. Patrick at GBNews.uk. Friday Night Feast returns at 7 p.m. next week. I'll be back from 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. Monday to Thursday with GB News Live. And actually, I'll be live at the Labour Party conference in Liverpool. Wish me luck. Next up, though, on GB News, it's Mark Dolan tonight. Have a great weekend, everybody. Good night.
Good evening. I'm Alex Deakin with your latest weather outlook from the Met Office. A dry and a bright weekend for most places. Bit of rain across the southeast at the moment, only slowly clearing. 1 or 2 showers around, and the mornings will be fairly chilly, but this area of high pressure is slowly moving in. It's yet to really get rid of this Wiggling weather fronts, which has made for quite a wet day across the far southeast, and that rain may linger across parts of Kent and Sussex through the night and into Saturday. There is a Met Office yellow warning in place. Away from the far southeast, though, just 1 or 2 showers, North Wales, eastern parts of England and southeast Scotland. But for most, it's a dry night and with clear skies.